This, my friends, is a dirt jumper, which at its core is essentially just a 100mm travel, single-speed, hardtail mountain bike. So I think it goes without saying, yet I'm saying it anyway. Hardtail DNA, dirt jumper DNA, pretty simple, definitely cut from the same cloth. Which then begs the question that any self-respecting mountain bicycling bicycle tinkerer has asked, can I take that old hardtail frame that I have and like convert it into a pump track dirt jumper rig? And yeah, I think you can. So, I'm gonna show you how I built this one up from the frame and everything going on. I want to start with this. Dirt jump conversions are a bit of a game, a balance of managing expectations and compromise. Especially because if you're doing this, I assume you're trying to do it on the cheap. Otherwise, just go to Bikes Online and buy a Polygon Trade. You'll be a lot happier. In this case, I'm using my wife's Schwinn Moab 1 hardtail cross-country mountain bike, which is great because it's a 100mm travel RockShox Judy fork, so it's not too long. And this geometry is actually pretty in line with what a lot of dirt jumpers are. Like the head tube on this thing, 68.5 degrees. However, it is 650B, so bigger wheels than what you'll find on a dirt jumper. So that's compromise one, but honestly, I've ridden pump tracks and done tricks on hardtails with 650B wheels many times. It's not gonna be that big of a hindrance. So I'm just gonna do the really quick part and put the fork that literally came with this bike in, but of course grease the headset cups because, well, there wasn't really any in there to begin with. And I'd like this thing to last. This would definitely be the main benefit of starting with a complete bike and not just a frame, because then you already have a fork, you already have wheels, you already have everything. It's like a huge money saver if you can start with something that you're just maybe not using anymore, or that your wife is like, I guess you can make a video with it. And then to make it a little more dirt jumper-esque, I've actually swapped out the stock stem with this much shorter 45mm stem that I just happen to have, which is gonna make the bike handle a lot more like a dirt jumper. The shorter stem just offers that much more direct, quick handling feeling that you kind of want when you're gonna be, well, riding this thing like a dirt jumper. Honestly, this thing should have had a short stem on it anyway. I think Angela would have enjoyed that. Now, the next challenge that you're gonna have with taking an old hardtail frame, trying to turn it into a bit of a dirt jumper is, well, it's gonna be the gearing. And more specifically, it's gonna be how are you gonna make the single speed conversion work? Because in all likelihood, you've either got a vertical dropout or possibly a through axle like I've got here, which means you don't get to pull the wheel back to put tension on the chain like you do here. This even has a built-in tensioner to like push the wheel back and keep tension on the chain. So if you find yourself in this situation, you've got two options. The easiest, and honestly the uglier, is just to run a single speed specific tensioner like I've got here on Mr. Relatable. Or literally just like run a derail. It does the exact same thing. It's just a little bulkier and a little more like, I don't know, I just don't find it looks as good, but it works well. It just doesn't look great. Or you can measure your chainstay length from the center of the spindle of the crank to the center of the rear through axle. Take that measurement, plug it into this website with a few combinations of different chainring and cog sizes you'd like to see, and see which one will give you the unicorn gear, which is a combination of chainring and cog with chain length that gives you perfect tension for your chainstay length. In my case, this 36 tooth on this crank with this 17 tooth and this chain with a half link in it gives us a pretty tight chain, but as it stretches and breaks in, Obviously this, again, as a conversion, is another one of those compromises. You're sort of stuck with whatever chainring and cog combination will work to give you the tension required to make sure the chain doesn't fall off. Or you run one of those loud, kind of annoying, pretty ugly chain tensioners. Or of course, what you could do is just leave your gearing on and run like a really long cable, which is sort of what I do with this thing when I want to do bar spins and other cool stuff with it. But in this case, we are going full dirt jumper conversion, so single speed had to be the way. Not really anything, I don't think there's anything I need to say about the front. I'm gonna put this front wheel on this bike. So, out of the stand, seat down, nose of the saddle, just pointed up that little bit. We have got ourselves a 650B hardtail dirt jumper conversion here. You'll also notice there's no brakes on this. I don't have any brakes to put on it, so brakeless. It's a street machine. And it only has one very glaring issue, and that is bit of bar spin toe overlap. Honestly, not that big a deal. Good thing to know before you start trying to do them fly outs, right? You don't really want to learn that in the air. The biggest problem we have right now is that it's now snowing outside. I wanted to go test this thing at a skate park or something as a really satisfying conclusion to this video, but I think as a pretty decent consolation conclusion, thankfully, I didn't go buy a new car, and I built this shop with this ramp in it instead, so let's use it. So I think for like half an hour of riding on too big of a set of wheels on too small of a ramp, pretty capable little dirt jumper conversion here. Now it has to be said, try to resist the urge to come up with ways that this could be improved, because the minute you start spending too much money on a conversion like this, you can quickly get to a decent dirt jumper price. And at that point, you just don't do a conversion. While maybe I could try and build a Boost Hub 26-inch wheel setup for this thing, and maybe it wouldn't make the bottom bracket too low, it would be an absolutely ridiculous thing to even try when there's stuff like this for reasonable prices all the time. And then in saying that, you might be wondering, well, why would anyone do this to begin with then? Well, maybe you just don't get it. Maybe you don't love tinkering with things, and that's okay as well. But what I will say is, this thing probably won't stay built like this for a while, but if you do want to see it get ridden at some other point, make sure you subscribe. We do need to do a better test than we've done at the end of this video. It doesn't feel right to leave it like this.